Hey, I'm back again. Sorry about that. Like I said, when I bring it back overhead, it tends to turn off. So might have got my son to do it, maybe not. This is like part B. Yeah, first one's part A, next one's part B. It's all part of the same video though. Okay, now here's my finished piece. I actually did got the piece out, and I actually finished doing the quilting, the word quilting on there. So that's sort of like what was your homework. I'll put that over here. Okay, now see how this is not quite straight. I'm just going to give it another re-iron, but that's all right. This is, I'm going to turn this into a placemat, because I'm going to use this one on the actual piece. So what we need to do is we just straighten it up a bit. Get those bits. And we straighten it up to the level line. See, nothing's ever, you know, a bad thing. Might do it just a tad on that side. And straighten it up there. And it doesn't really matter if you don't, because it's going to have the edging on it, but I like to have it straight. So we are left with, this says the actual finished block size. There you go. With it being straightened up, it's the actual finished block size. So oh, I think I've done it wrong. There you go. Oh my goodness. I was supposed to put that on the other side. Oh, this is just hopeless, isn't it? Well, here I'm trying to teach you how to do it, and I've done it wrong. Well, there you go. But you would normally, you know, that's the thing with the quilting. It is, yeah, you keep adding and you keep adding. So I'm just going to turn this into the so what you do is you put that piece on, like what I did in the previous, and on the bottom, and then no, you do the side piece first. That's the side piece. Then you add the bottom. Then you do this side piece. Then you add that top. Then you do this side piece. And see, I've got it there. So if you look in this, I might go in. Got your center piece, 1 and 1. See, I've got those on there. So you sew this piece on first, then you sew that piece on, and then you go to 2, and you sew, you know, you iron in between. You sew that piece on next, iron it, and then you sew that piece on. Then you've got block 3 here, sew that piece on, and then that piece on, and then block 4, you sew that piece on. You can sort of see it in the pattern, and then that piece. They tend to, like, yeah, because I was getting a bit flustered on there because it wasn't working properly, and then my son knocked on the door. So, but it doesn't matter. We will make nothing is ever wasted. I'm going to turn that into a little coaster and give it away, but I'm going to use this to show you the next process that we're doing. So we're going to get some wadding. You get a little bit of wadding in your piece. The piece that is in the kit has got this stuff on the bottom, so it's actually an iron on, so you iron it on to the back of your piece, whereas this I'm going to cut into what size is that? 3 3¾ yeah, 3¾ by 3¾ it should be a square. Yep. So we are going to cut this, and this was a scrap. The beauty of quilting batting, you can actually sew scraps together, because there was 2 half pieces and I'm just going to sew them together. So just cut it. Okay, now I'm going to do 3 3/4, which is there, 3 3/4. Just double check. Yep. And 3 3/4. Oops, sorry. See my head? Coming that way. I might go over a little bit and make it a bit straighter. There we go. 3 3/4. Okay, so that's your batting. These are the little leftover bits. With batting too, I find there is a tends to be a side that tends to stick to the fabric a bit better, so we're going to put that on there. So just ignore that it's done wrong. See, look, even I get it wrong, get flustered. It's hard teaching on video, I can tell you that. Okay, then what I've done here, I've just gotten a bit of pretty fabric and then stuck that behind. Okay, I'm just going to get some calico for that one. So now there is 2 ways that you can do quilting on here, especially for something like this small. If I want to make how to make a coaster, I'll have this here, is what you would do now is you would see, if you want to make a coaster, you would put that on that way, so where the back is showing, then you would sew all the way around, leaving a bit of a gap, like about that big. Then you would turn it inside out and you'd have that little bit of gap showing, like that would all be sewn, so that you just pretend we flipped it the right way around, and then you would just sew on the outside and that is done. But since we're going to be doing some quilting, so what we need to do is, what I've done here, I'm just going to do some what I've done on here is just a little bit of quilting. I might zoom it in. Now this is just hand quilting. Put it in there. So you get yourself your thread, and I've got something that's matching, so we're going to get maybe, yep, that's the one, pink thread. Okay. Actually, what I might do, because I'm going to show you how to do, I might sew it. Okay, I'm going to show you how I did this. I'm going to just do it in the middle. Okay, so I'm just going to get a pin and I'm going to show you how you can make some nice coasters. I'll be back. I'm just going to sew around and I'll show you. Okay, back again. So what I've done, I'll just take out the pins. Okay, so we get that and we cut it the same width. So there's a couple of ways of quilting. This is a way of quilting without doing the binding. Okay, the binding is another technique again, and that takes a bit. So what you need to do is, see, I'm going to do, like, cut the corners a little bit. Okay. If you don't leave enough, it can be tricky. So you've got to grab that piece here. There's a gap in between. And we're going to turn it inside out. This is probably a good method for this particular project because it's so small. You could probably get away with doing this method. I can't with this one because I've already done the hand quilting like that, ready to do the binding. Yeah, well, this is a quilting method one, so I thought I'd better show you how to do the binding, which means to go back on the machine, which I don't think I want to do. I might just show you how to do it and then I'll stitch it. Yep. Turning stuff inside out isn't always easy. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I get maybe a knitting needle. Okay. So we've got it like this. Don't poke too hard. Get your finger in there. Okay. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we'll adjust it so that those bits are sticking out. Really don't want to poke through. Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay, so see this? This needs to be folded in just a tad. And so does this. Oh, didn't quite catch. There you go. Now, I will give it an iron. Okay. Okay. Then we go around the outside with a straight stitch. Make sure that all of the bits are properly pushed out. And while I'm there, I might do a quilting on the machine, and I'll show you. So here I've done it here. Whereas the first thing I'm gonna do is just do a straight stitch all the way around, and then, you know, just do on the insides of the block. So I'm gonna pause. I'll quilt it on the machine. It's just going to do a straight. So this is a machine quilt technique, and I'll be back. Okay, back again. So this is the doing the quilting without binding method. So I just sewed around the outside, and then I just sewed. And if you use like a creamy colour, it was sort of made a little bit more difficult because I had done it wrong, so I had to do more parts. But this is a perfect coaster. Look at that. Done. And a coaster you can wash. So, yeah, so this is me making lemonade out of lemons. It still looks really pretty. but this is the correct way of of doing it. So what we are going to do now, I might get the pin. So that's the way you do it on the machine. This is the way you do it by hand. I'm just gonna, you just stitch in there like that, and then you stitch in there like that. So 2 squares. When it's done properly, that's how it should look. Okay, I'm just going to put some pins while I cut, just as well. I pre-did one earlier, and then we are going to cut the same width. You can do this with your rotary cutter, something this small. I mean, that method you can do on a bigger quilt too. It doesn't have to be just a small quilt method. Now, there are better ways to doing binding than what I'm probably going to teach you. Maybe go and do have a look on just, you know, in the YouTube videos, say, just Google up, I put in the thing, how to do binding, okay? Because I mean, there's a lot to learn in quilting. So I'll gonna be doing the extra bits next week. So I am going to, so what you do is you get your piece of, so 1 3/4. Now how I do it is I actually sew it on the wrong way. You can do it all by hand and choose to do it like sew it and like sew it down, and then it gets turned over and you stitch it down by hand. That's how a lot of people do it. This is the quick cheats way. Okay, so we'll start, you start there and you sew down. So let's pretend we've sewn down, once again 1/4 inch. Now when you get to this part, now I might zoom right in and then I'll come back out again. When you get to there, you sew up to about 1/4 inch, so you would sew to there, okay? Then once it's sewn there, you fold it up like that. Now you've really got to watch this, and then fold it down. Then just say this is your you take it off your sewing machine, like you take it out and the thread's still attached. Then you put your sewing machine needle, and then you sew all the way to there. So this gives you a mitered corner. Okay, so then you go, and that will be sewed down like that. And when you get to this part, do the same thing, stop there like so, take your needle out, but don't take it out of the machine, like don't cut the thread, I mean, and then fold that up, then fold that down, then put your needle back in at that 1/4 inch mark and sew down. Same to go this. I'll do it and show you again because it can be a little bit tricky. Okay, so straight line 1/4 inch. Take the needle out but leave the thread in, go up and down, then put it back in the machine, put the needle down in that part there, and continue to sew down. While I've got it like that, I might go into the machine and actually sew it down. And then when you get to here, you know, up, down again, Now I did see something on a YouTube channel on how to do this. Okay, so that's being sewn down like this. See, obviously that's way too much, so we're just going to cut. I'm going to cut some of that off. Then when you start sewing, make sure you start sewing about there. Okay, so that's where you've started, and leave yourself a bit, might even leave yourself a little bit extra. What we're going to do is we're going to open it up. This is the annoying tricky bit. This is why you're probably better off going on somewhere else and they show you. This is how I do it, and it is really annoying. Okay. Okay. So got about there and there. So what we need to do, that should have been sewn on, and we need to open it up and see where that is. So we need to sew there. Okay, like that. It's got to be opened up. Now I go on the sewing machine and do it, but if you want to, you can do it by hand, because it does get tricky because everything's already sewed down. So the first half is easy, and I've seen a tutorial on how to do this, and it's so much easier than what I'm showing you. I might even see if I can find it and link it, where she actually cut the width of a bit and then just put it on. It was just so much easier. Even if you wanted to, you could probably just pin it like that and sew it, and then that's going to be sewn like that and go around. Okay, yeah, I don't profess to. It's just so hard to teach when I haven't got the proper setup and all that kind of stuff. So the binding bit is not my favourite part, especially when it comes to this part. So yeah, so that's how you do that. And then when these are over, when it's been sewn, which I might go and sew it now, and then I'll show you what you need to do. 23 minutes already, long video. Okay, I'm back again. Now, my preferred method of sewing stuff is actually hand quilting. So what I've done here, I've just sewn it. I'm gonna just cut it here, cut that bit off, because it's just so teeny weeny. That's how I did that one. Oop. Oh, I forgot to sew that part down. So what you need to do, that's what I forgot, is once you've done this bit, I thought I'd come and show you what I meant. I started here, and then I sewed to where it's 3/4, lifted it up off the machine, which you can see here, folded that over, and then restarted here, went all the way to 3/4, lifted it out of the machine, did the folding bit. See, so you've got that little loop bit, which is there. Then when you get to that, I just put it flat, sewed it across. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the iron and iron that down, and then I'm going to sew across here to here. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, back again. Now what you need to do is get yourself some thread. I got like strong thin cotton, polyester is probably good. Then we are going to proceed to sew it. Because it's so small, I thought I would sew this and do it hand sewn. See, it's all together. So what we're going to do is we fold it over. Now the way I do big quilts, get these bits off, is I would have sewn this on the back, and then this part would have been, say this was the front, that would have been sewn on the front. Then you go with the sewing machine and you go all the way around. You don't have to worry about hand sewing it. I might snip off the corners just a tad. Be careful, you don't want to snip that. Then you're going to fold it over. Just get your pins. And then that. This gives us a mitered finish on this side. So you fold that down like that, and you fold it down like that. See? Automatically it will go down. I'm just going to pull it up on all its sides, and I'm just going to fold it over. In and across. Pin that. I find it easier not to pin it and just sew as I go, but I'm showing you guys. Now you make sure you've got to tuck in all that back piecing. We don't want that. You got to remember this is a teeny instruction on what you would normally have as a bigger quilt. That's why when you're making coasters, that's the easiest way. You don't have the binding. Okay, we're going to do that and tuck that over. Hopefully when I fold it back the other way, it'll look really nice. Okay, up, down. Cut these little fray bits off. You want them tucked in. You end up with a lot of threads. Okay. Okay. So go across. Tiny little pin. In, threads everywhere. Ugh, they're all going to be tucked in and sewn so you won't see it. Okay, and over. Okay, that's got to be tucked in. When you're busy sewing, make sure that it is tucked in. Okay, so see, and then the corners are mitered. Now what we're going to do, get my thread. Now all we do I might start with this one, is I'm going to start on the top there. Work my way down. It's fiddly having a really small one, and we're just going to do tiny little slip stitch going down. Don't go all the way through, you're just catching the actual fabric on itself. You don't want to see any stitching on the front. Okay, there we go. Now when it comes to here, you've got to remember it's got wadding in between. Okay. Oop. It does go pretty fast once you get the swing of it. Catch a little bit, go underneath, catch a little bit. Catch a little bit. There, it's already got rid of one pin. This part I don't mind. I actually don't mind. Like, I've done really big quilts when I first started quilting. This is how I did it. I didn't learn that you sewed it on the wrong way around and all that kind of stuff, and then you could sew it up on the machine, which is a real quick way of quilting. This is how I did it. And actually this part I don't mind. It's quite relaxing. So up. Seriously. Not winning. That's how half my videos are. What not to do. Okay. I think it's too long, to be honest. Cut some of it off. Okay. So that's what you do. And then I'll stitch it down, then I'll be back. Okay, we are done. I would probably recommend, if you are a beginner, do it that way and hand quilt it, rather than just sort of like sew on the outside and then hand quilt it like I've done here. So we're going to just quilt on the inside of that one, in that one, and then I've got this thread, and I'm just going to go all the way around the outside of that. You don't need to quilt on this, and see how that gives it that mitered corner. I mean, yeah. So when you got bigger quilts, like to say these parts, like when these parts are a lot bigger, say, you know, the finished part's about 3 inches, you can actually do some fancy stitching in there, but it does make a bit of a difference. See the inside part, and then when you add that to it, it makes it a little bit bigger. That's being flattened iron, and this way you get your little mitered corners. So cute. So I've just going to finish stitching this down, and I'm going to hand quilt and go all the way through to the back like I did with that one. And I find the best way to do that is almost to do one at a time, because I want to go through, because it's going to hold it down. Okay guys, well, I'll catch you in the next one. This one has been a little bit of a long one, and I'll zoom out, and yeah, so we're going to be attaching it onto the actual piece. We're going to do a little bit of stitching around here. I might do something a little bit fancy, so do your little quilting thing, and I'm going to attach this and the button and everything, so it won't be a real long one, but it'll be complete. So okay guys, well, like I said, if you are a newbie, I would probably recommend doing this one. So maybe make it like it's still big enough to be, you know, it's a nice small piece, but if you're a bit more of a quilter and you've done it a bit, you can do it this way, in the way you prefer. I will try and find a video to link how to do binding. I don't profess to be the world's greatest quilter. There are plenty of other channels out there that show, and they've got a proper, you know, audio visual setup. I do a lot of hand stitching, so I prefer, except when I'm, you know, piecing quilts together, I do a lot of more embroidery and hand stitching, which I enjoy. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching, and the next part it'll be all the finishing touches and finishing it. We're averaging about 3 videos, which just seems to be the go. So don't panic, you've got the whole month to learn how to do this. Hope it was informative, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.